Hey there, guitar fanatics. So two-handed tapping on guitar. You know, Eddie Van Halen was not the first person to do it, but he was definitely the guy that brought it to the masses. You know, Eddie inspired entire generations to play notes on the fretboard with their picking hand. And more than just a flashy trick, it was an organic part of his style. And it's probably the reason that his tapping still inspires and excites to this day. In this video, I'm going to show you not only how to get started with tapping, but I'm going to give you several practice exercises so you can ingrain tapping into your musical DNA. And we're going to even get into some phrasing techniques that you can use when you tap to make those notes really come alive. So don't go anywhere. If you want to add some tapping techniques into your guitar playing, you're going to want to watch this one until the end. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's play some guitar. So for the folks who haven't done any tapping, we're going to tackle some basics and then we're going to use some of EVH's licks for a template. The first thing we want to do is just get used to tapping, and one of the things you need to understand is that it's almost always going to be a combination of one or more notes that you fret normally using hammer-ons and pull-offs mostly, and then one or more notes that you're going to play with your picking hand up on the fretboard. So let's start by playing the C note at the 5th fret of the G string, and then we're going to reach up and essentially play a hammer-on with one of the fingers of our picking hand. So let's tap the E note at the 9th fret of the G string. And you could use your middle finger if you want to keep holding the pick conventionally, or if you want to be like Eddie, you could switch the pick in between the crook of your middle finger, use your index finger. A lot of times Eddie would also hold the pick between his thumb and his middle finger to keep his tapping finger free. But you play that C note, regrip the pick, tap at the 9th fret with that index finger. So either way, we're playing the C note, we're tapping the 9th fret, and don't be afraid to give that string a vigorous tap. I always tell students that if I were tapping on a tabletop with the same amount of force that I tap when I tap on the fretboard, you would definitely hear an audible thump. Let's try that a couple times, and I really want you to pay attention to each note, letting it ring out clearly to make sure that we're being accurate with our tap. Now that we've got that tap note under control, we're going to execute a pull-off with our tapping finger. And I pull off towards the ground, and then we should hear our original note ring out. So that's going to be step number 1, getting used to tapping and pulling off. So let's try that. Play the C note, tap the E, then pull off. All 3 notes clear. Step number 2, we're going to take things up a notch and we're going to start moving the tapped note around. So let's take something familiar. How about the C major scale, Do, Re, Mi? We can play it all the way up the G string. Here's another useful fundamental. We're going to get the string ringing by hammering onto the C note with our fretting hand. You're going to find out that that's a way a lot of tapping licks will get started. We're then going to hammer onto the D note and pull off back to the C. We're going to hammer on the E note and pull back to C. We can go all the way up and down the fretboard in that manner. As a matter of fact, we're going to make up a little exercise. We're going to play taps up to the 12th fret and then back down to the D note at the 7th fret. After tapping that D note, we're going to pull off to the C, slide to the B at the 4th fret and back. It would sound like this. So we've created a little loop that we can repeat, and we can take it further for the sake of practicing and developing accuracy. I'm going to go all the way up to the 19th fret this time before moving back down the scale. So you can also put on a drum loop or a metronome, and you can work on your sense of groove and timing while you're working on your accuracy. Develop all those skills. Moving on to stage 3, we're going to get a little more Edward sounding, and we're going to play some triplets. So this technique is going to involve tapping a note, pulling off to a note that we've already fretted, and then hammering on to a note between those two notes. Let's keep it really simple and stay on the G string. We're going to tap at the 9th fret, pull off to the C at the 5th fret, and then hammer on with our fretting hand to the D at the 7th fret. The first thing we want to make sure of is that all the notes are ringing out clearly. The second thing we want to make sure of is that we want to make sure we're playing the notes in a nice, even triplet rhythm. And of course, as we're getting those fundamentals down, we can increase the speed, and then we're going to start recognizing that triplet sound that was so exciting in Eruption. Let's take that technique one step further. We're going to start moving around the note we're tapping. We've got to ingrain some independence between our two hands. And the idea here is to take our mind off what the fretting hand is doing, let it go on autopilot while we concentrate on being accurate with our tapping hand. So we're going to keep our fretting hands playing frets 5 and 7. And we're going to tap all the way up the fretboard using that C major scale. So we've got our original triplet. We're going to tap at the 9th, play the 5th and 7th, tap at the 10th, the 12th, the 14th, the 16th, and then back down. Once again, we want to focus on accuracy with all the notes ringing clearly. Then focus on playing with an even triplet rhythm. Lastly, focus on speed. Always remember, fast crap still sounds like crap. So you really want to work on accuracy and timing. I cannot stress that enough. So we're getting the triplet thing down, or we're getting comfortable moving the tap note around. Now we're going to move on to an actual Edward lick, where we're going to keep the tap note the same, but we're going to move around the notes that we're playing with our fretting hand. You're going to recognize this lick from Eruption. We're going to tap at the 17th fret of the B string, pull off to the 12th fret, and then hammer on to the 15th. Let's do that 4 times. Then we're going to move our fretting hand down 1 fret and start it over 4 times. Move down a fret again. Move down a fret 1 last time. Now we're fretting at the 9th and 12th. The trick here is to make sure you move your fretting hand after that 4th time, but you've got to be in place before that tapping hand pulls off. So that previous exercise, we were working on having our fretting hand on autopilot while we were concentrating on the tapping. Now we're doing just the opposite. Getting into tapping really enforces you to engage your brain and develop some independence between your two hands. Eddie uses that particular technique all over the very last part of Eruption. Before that, he's doing some tapping, but he's actually moving both the fretting hand and the tapping hand to outline an entire chord progression, and that's probably beyond the scope of what we're trying to do today. He also uses that lick in You Really Got Me, among other places. So let's take a look at how he uses it in that song. So we're in the key of A. We're going to be tapping up at the 10th fret of our B string. So our fretting hand is playing 5 and 8, 4 and 7, 3 and 6, and lastly 2 and 5. Funnily enough, the fretting hand is playing the notes of a cliched blues turnaround. How many times have we heard this? Eddie just launched that lick into hyperspace by tapping the triplets. Now, we play each segment of that lick twice, and after the last time through, I'm going to reach over and fret the 4th fret of the G string. I'm going to flick it with my tapping finger and bend it up a whole step. Now, we let off that bend it right back up, so re-articulate it. We hold that bend because we're going to tap at the 10th fret. Pull off, release that bend, and pull off to the A at the 2nd fret. We're going to try that whole thing slowly. So last part of that lick where he taps that bent note, that's the last technique that I want to show you today. Then we're going to spend just a little bit of time on some phrasing elements that you can add to your tapping licks. Tapping a bent note like he did in You Really Got Me, that's very, very reminiscent of a lick in a ZZ Top song called Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, and I am pretty certain that Eddie heard and was influenced by that song of Mr. Billy Gibbons. So let's take a look at a lick from Panama where Eddie plays a series of taps on top of a bent note. So we're going to bend the 9th fret of the G string up a whole step, and then we're going to tap frets 14, 12, 14, 16, 14, 12 again. After that last step of the 12th fret, we pull off and we release the bend, and then we pull off from that note to the 9th fret down to the 7th. Whole lick goes like this. One more time. So I do want to mention a couple of phrasing elements that you can apply to your tapping to make the notes sound more polished and alive. The first one is adding some vibrato to a note that we've tapped on top of a bend. So just like in that Panama lick, we're going to bend up the 9th fret of the G string a whole step, and then we're going to tap at the 14th fret. When we do that, we're going to hold that tap and we're going to put some vibrato on the bend with the fretting hand. So the job of the tapping finger at this point is just going to be to keep the pressure on the string and the note ringing out. We're going to let the fretting hand do the vibratos. Check it out. So now try this. We're going to pull off the tap, we release the bend, but then we're going to re-execute that bend, and then we're going to tap at the 12th fret, adding vibrato again. So we're going to get those tap notes singing a little bit. Here it is. So we just tapped on top of a bent note. What about bending a note that we just tapped? We're going to play a triplet, tapping at the 14th fret of the B string, pulling off to the 7th fret, and then hammering onto the 10th. Then we're going to tap at the 14th fret again, but we're going to hold the tap and bend up with our fretting hand a half step. Then let off the bend, pull off the tap to the note at the 10th fret, and then pull off that note to the 7th fret. It's a super cool lick, and it sounds so smooth and silky. We can use another phrasing technique and slide a tap note. We're going to use the exact same lick with our triplet, but this time when we get to that second tap, we're going to hold the pressure down and slide to the 15th fret and then back. Then we're going to pull off to the 10th and 7th frets. We could even pause after the slide and apply some vibrato to that tap note that we're holding. So yes, phrasing can be applied to tapping, and it really does make the notes sound more alive. So as always, thanks for watching, and I hope you are fired up to get some tapping into your playing. We just scratched the surface today, but I'm going to be doing some more videos soon with more advanced techniques, so I hope to see you there. Keep practicing, keep having fun playing the guitar, and I will see you soon. Bye.